Looks like we're on. Hey, what's going on, guys? Another episode of Crush This a Monster Truck podcast. We are back together finally. Brad's on here, but I'm doing the opening segment. I've been gone for about a month and a half with our team doing a lot of the state fairs. Just popped in and out, but really wasn't that, I guess, in the program, you may just say. We started back in August at the Colorado State Fair. Did that for a little bit. Did the fuller 10 days. And then went ahead and we jumped to Oklahoma State Fair. And did 10 days of that. It was pretty neat. It was different than Colorado. We had the ride truck, and then I brought the race truck I drive and did a little bit of the exhibition stuff. Once, or some days, weekends, twice, stuff like that. People get the ride in the ride truck. We did that about 10 days. And then I did a monster truck show in Fort Smith, Arkansas for the Insanity Tour. And it was myself, Aaron Basil in Devastator, and Devin Jones in War Eagle, not Barbarian, a little small rodeo arena in Fort Smith for the Arkansas-Oklahoma State Fair. Handled wheelies pretty good, won it, but I broke an outer axle. And with these type of shows, a lot of times, like at the All-Star Monster Truck Show, stuff like that, they don't have intermission. So it's nonstop, fast pace. So the wheelies, then you have tough trucks. Racing, tough trucks. Freestyle, that's the program. Done and over with. So you really don't have a time to get out of the truck, whatever you need to do to fix the truck. So from racing and freestyle, I was running with a broken axle, which is a learning experience for my behalf because no one really told me how to drive a truck like that. All I knew was try to keep momentum going. Not always, when you're trying to approach something, hammer the throttle the last second. Let the truck, momentum wise, go through everything, because it kept on. It was the left rear outer axle. Found that out, and a lot of guys like Aaron Basil and Devin Jones, those guys really helped me out with what was going on and stuff like that, which was really cool. So I'd like to thank those guys for helping me understand, how to deal with a broken truck, and keep on performing it. So that was very exciting for me, learning about that, even though, my night was pretty much over with after wheelies, but still a huge learning experience. And then we went straight from there to Dallas, Texas at the State Fair of Texas. And went there. It was from September 29th to October 22nd. So that was interesting. Went to 2 football games. One was Prairie View A&M against Gambling State. Won some tickets for some trivia stuff, which was pretty cool. And then the second game was OU, University of Oklahoma versus the Texas Longhorns. And Oklahoma came on top on that one. Awesome atmosphere. People always say, like, if you had a chance to go to any college football games, it's either you go to the Texas, Oklahoma, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida, Georgia. So, been the one out of 3. Even though the Michigan, Ohio State one's close to me. I don't know. Don't care about both teams. So, but I've been to the backyard brawl and stuff like that. So, brawl. But outside of that, we did that. Visit friends. I guess that one week Monster Jam was there in Arlington, but we didn't go to it. So that was a very interesting time period to go there. Once again, I want to thank everyone that helps us out. Thank you for all the people that listen up on Spotify and iTunes. Thank you for all the likes and the 5-star reviews. We're trying our best to get all the programs and stuff like that together. Every Tuesday, well, not anymore Tuesday night, but every Thursday night, go take a look at Monster Truck Attitude on Facebook and on YouTube. They are the home of Tuesday night Smashdown and Thursday Night Thunder, downhill monster truck racing. I think they're taking a hiatus on Smashdown, so it's now just now Thursday Night Thunder. Follow Monster Truck Attitude on Facebook and on YouTube. Also, want to give some shout out to Farmer Monster Truck Collecting right here. Go take a look at that cat from Fayetteville, North Pennsylvania. Collects die-casts, you name it, NASCAR, NHRA, monster trucks, Formula One, IndyCar, even the 24 hours cars. Go take a look at his stuff. It's on Facebook. There it is, facebook.com/Farmer Racing. He does a cool Make-A-Wish auction for people. All the proceeds go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I get my collectibles there. A couple of my friends, they hooked me up. Andy Ullum and Danny Clark, those guys have got me hooked on it. I got Joey Logano's 22 championship year car, Haley Deegan's race car. Just recently, Kyle Busch's winning California Lucas Oil car. So many of his that has helped me out with collecting, to the point where also I got Matt Hagan's Pennzoil 2015 car, John Force's 17, Ron Capps. So there's a cool thing during Black Friday. He does a cool special, stuff like that. Go take a look at Farmers Racing on Facebook, and he'll show you all the up-to-date stuff on 124th, 164 scale, 118, of all the racing in the world. He has one touch everything. So go take a look at that once again, Farmers Racing on Facebook. Also, go to our Crush This a Monster Truck Podcast spread shop, get some free merch. We're going to get some merch here in a couple, hopefully whenever Brad gets the okay on whatever he needs to do to get more designs in. Be on the lookout. We'll find out here on our spreadshop.com, and also with 6B Apparel. Thank you for, you can get our crew shirts or hoodies, $100 pop. Contact me or Brad through 6B Apparel. So we're going to get our intro all ready to go here, and we're going to go from there, guys. Let me get ready for the video here. And we'll do this episode with Joey Sylvester. This Crush This podcast is presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts, and we'll get this show underway. So here we go.
This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Cheech. Buckle in. The show starts now.
And welcome to a new episode of Crush This, a Monster Truck Podcast. My name is Bradshaw, also known as the only Monster Truck Canucker. You saw Dan, Mr. Cheech Agosh in the intro, and with us is Mr. Dirt Reynolds. People call him the Dale Earnhardt of Monster Trucks.
Jesse
Mr.
James.
Joey Sylvester. How's it going, buddy? It's our yearly chat, it seems.
It's going, man. I'm glad to be back chatting with you guys. It's always fun to just kind of jump on here and just chat a little bit about everything that's going on with you guys and with the sport and with what I got going on.
Yeah, we got a lot of catching up to do. At this point last year, you just broke the world record. Last time we talked to you at Norwalk, Ohio. Last episode, you did the speed record. And I have the little up there is your hero card that I have up there with
Oh, nice.
the gladiator and stuff like that. But man, we're following you with your Monster Life videos that you were having there. So a lot of people kind of caught up what was going on. You doing a lot of map motorsports shows. Going down to Texas, did a lot of the All Star Monster Truck shows. Kind of dominated those shows with the All Star events. Kind of in the first half of it, pretty much taking over having the lead and holding on to the lead. If you know, no offense to Trouton, did a fantastic job, but I think if you had kept on the whole season, I think the Bad Habit will win the All Star Championship. But because we're watching the videos, you were just flat out like on the rails with your truck at those All Star events. But you had other stuff going on, but still, you had a full fledged schedule going on, and then you had the what I'm fast forwarding is talking about your outlaw monster truck drags. Started at Bloomsburg, and let's talk about that because it was a good, awesome stack lineup. You had brought back names that haven't been in those grounds for quite some time, almost 30 plus years. And in the tracks that you have been coming up with have been very unique to each of the pretty much areas that you went to. Let's talk about a review about your outlaw monster truck drags.
Yeah, man, it was really cool this year to partner with the Jamborees, and when I wanted to start the outlaw drags, it was my vision was to have it on a stage like the Jamborees, the big venues, the big infields, to where we could really build some tracks that nobody's ever seen before, and some really long tracks to keep the fans interested, to keep the drivers, trying different things. I really want to see some things come back in the sport that were around back in the 90s, where guys were really pushing the limits of the trucks, to make them go faster, fly higher. And, it's just the technological advancements that happened in the sport. Like, it seems like our sport has just gone towards strictly freestyle, make everything big, heavy, and it's just a game of survival. My hope is to bring back some legitimate racing, as well as legitimate freestyle competition. So the truck does still have to do both, but I want to see, guys really coming up with different strategies on how they take the track, the different setups on the trucks, maybe some innovations as far as different parts and engine combinations, things like that. We don't really put any restrictions on the trucks as far as engine regulations or anything. I want it to be open. I want guys to come and, just start really, like I said, pushing the envelope with what's possible in a monster truck when it comes to racing these things.
And coming into this season, it was, once the lineup started showing up, names like Rampage being brought back by Triple B, Barefoot coming to these iconic venues. Talk about, choosing the lineups for these shows and the caliber of trucks that you brought to the table. Because, I went to the Jamboree last year in Indy, and it was a good show. Don't get me wrong, but what you were able to bring to it, it seemed like, it brought back the nostalgia of the Penda series back in those venues, especially, like I said, with those lineups that you bring.
Yeah, that's kind of my idea. My thought is to be a modern day Penda series, doing, racing that's kind of reminiscent of what we had done in the past or what trucks have done in the past, but at a level that showcases what these trucks are capable of. It was really awesome to have Triple B come out and bring all those names and bringing Rampage back, all names that I grew up watching as a kid, and watching in the Penda series. So to see those names come back to the Jamboree, I think I speak for a lot of people when it was pretty rad.
And how cool is it that, that Triple B considered your product for a lot of the cool looks, like you said, the debut of Rampage, the Monster Patrol 30th anniversary truck. Didn't do a lot of stuff outside of. I mean, it did shows here or there, but it was main focus was your Outlaw Monster Truck drags. I mean, that was pretty cool to see Monster Patrol, seeing all that. The like you said, Barefoot, Stomper. That's an old school name that was prior to the Penda, but did race in those venues when it was part of TNT. And then you mix it up a little bit with Toxic and American Scout, and then Bad Habit. You have modern day names mixed with old school names in general. So you had a nice little buffet of trucks, and then just the atmosphere. Talk about. I was curious about the announcer that you had. He was a pretty cool hype guy, and I watched a lot of the videos that fans were posting, like at Indy and stuff like that, and it just seemed like a awesome, cool vibe atmosphere.
Oh yeah, me and Ricky go back a long ways, man. We've been friends for a long time, and he used to do his own mega truck series and truck pull series called the Throttle King Championship. So he's used to promoting events. He understands what it takes. He always emceed his own events, and he's got his hands involved in the off-road racing world. So he understands trucks. He understands the way they work. And he's never short for words on the microphone. I love his voice. I think he's got a really cool, like raspy, boasting voice that I think is really something that is, I guess, should be a quality of a monster truck announcer, that boasting, distinguished voice, and he just does a really good job with it. We mesh well. He works well with all the drivers. And I'm stoked and I'm thankful to have him on board with us.
I got to interact with him a little bit last year at your show in Canfield because, you had Todd up in the main booth and it said Ricky, right?
Yeah. Ricky B. Wilson.
I'm not good with names, but he was down by us because I was one of the judges for freestyle, and he was interacting with us and kind of interested in what we were doing. Talk about the track ideas, because you had three iconic venues, obviously Bloomsburg, iconic in the sport, Indy Jamboree, and then the championship round in Canfield. Everyone had different kind of ideas for tracks. Talk about what went into with the track design in Bloomsburg, because it was a little different, because you don't have the long area that Bloomsburg once had. You guys are confined to that little track that they have there now.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love to have drag racing, just Bloomsburg was just too small of an infield to have a really long drag race track. It maybe would have been 300 feet if we were to drag race, and it just, by today's standards, to really have a good show, to give fans something that's exciting, you need to race a little longer than that for drag racing. So I decided to just make a really big, long turning style track and utilize every square inch of that place, and utilize the racetrack that was there and the bank turns and everything. So, that was definitely something a little bit different. It was, I think it was fun. I always try to build stuff too that's going to be fun for the drivers to drive, because I think when a driver's having fun, so are the fans.
And then you had. Oh man, I like to hear your aspect of what happened. The qualifying Friday night at Indianapolis.
Yeah, it got a little gnarly.
Yeah,
man. I mean, it was an 8th mile track, which, as far as I know, that was the first 8th mile, 660-foot long monster truck drag race track. 5 jumps, one of them being a double. And that's where I get my ideas for some of these tracks. Is my background before monster trucks is motocross, BMX, mountain biking, stuff that you wouldn't generally see a monster truck do, and stuff that takes some timing. It takes some skill on the driver's part. It takes a little bit of thought. It's not just mashing the throttle and hanging onto the steering wheel and hoping for the best, or an all-out horsepower wins race. Power, definitely helps, but I don't think any of my tracks are built to favor the biggest horsepower truck. But the double, I just wanted something that was going to be wild and crazy and different. Knowing what had been at the Jamboree there in Indianapolis in the past, I wanted to come out guns blazing. I wanted the track to really make people talk about it afterwards. I wanted the drivers to be excited about it. I wanted there to be some close racing. But I definitely didn't want to see a truck get yard sailed across the asphalt. I told everybody at the drivers meeting, I said, if anybody has any reservations about this whatsoever right now, and nobody wants to do this, I'll go change it right now. I'll make it into a tabletop. But everybody was like, no, we'll see what happens. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I told them, I told everybody, I said, if you don't have the speed to clear this double, I said, don't even try. Just check up, roll it, and get back on the ground and throttle out of it. Don't if there's any doubt in your mind, if you're not going to make it, don't even try. And I even cased it myself because I came off the second jump way too hard, and on the asphalt, just the way the truck bounced, I got in the throttle and the truck was unsettling and just immediately buzzed my tires, just spun my tires. So I didn't have the run at it that I needed, and I cased it and bounced and missed the next jump. Scout, I think he had a slight misfire in his motor. He cased it, ended up with a crazy looking save that he drove out of. Just anybody who didn't have the speed at it didn't make it. Monster Patrol greased it perfectly. Toxic made it perfectly. So it was definitely, it was there. It was doable. It was just a matter of everybody figuring out exactly how to get their speed up going to it. And when I saw Dalton and Stomper come off the line and come across the jump right before it, I was thinking to myself, he's not going to jump it. He's going to roll it. There's no way he's got enough speed. Then when he hit it, I was like, oh no. So glad that he was all right. It was a pretty vicious hit. And I'll tell you what, it is badass what him and his crew did. I told him, I said, dude, I do not expect you to come back out here if you can't make the rest of the show. I said, you took a hell of a hit. The truck's a wadded up mess. I said, I totally get it if you can't make it back for the rest of the weekend. He's like, oh, hell no, we'll be back. And I was like, okay, all right. If you need anything. And he brought in tubing benders and welders, and they got that thing all put back together. And every single person that was down there in the pits was pretty emotional when they saw that truck hit the track for him to go out there and freestyle on Saturday night.
It seems that Stomper and the Indy Jamboree just don't seem to mesh well. Last year, he broke a bunch of parts on one of the best trick attempts. I think it might have been Saturday night, maybe last year. But knowing Dalton and Rexy and all those guys, they were going to thrash and put it back together. And then you guys also had kind of a lucky kind of thing. Brandon Overmeyer was there with his truck doing a display for the Hall of Fame, and you guys brought him out to compete with you guys. Talk about kind of bringing him in. And he had contacted me about coming and running there. He's got a sponsor that wanted to see his truck out there on the track, and I said, well, yeah, man, we're running for points, but if you want to come freestyle and do best trick, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for having another truck out there. And he came out and he threw down. And when Stomper was out, I went to Brandon and I said, hey, dude, if you want, we have another spot, for in the racing bracket, if you want to go out there and take Stomper's place and race, and then, let this diesel, get out there and eat. And he was all about it. So it was cool that he stepped up, and, so we didn't have to see trucks make any buy runs or anything like that. And I'll tell you what, he was fast. The diesel was definitely fast.
Yeah, his YouTube videos and stuff like that, showing the progression of that American Outlaw truck and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool seeing an old school Dodge. Also, you don't get really see a lot of that, and you get him to do it, and it was exciting. And then, the weekend after that, Canfield, your hometown show, another legendary Penda track. So that's still pretty cool. You have Bloomsburg, Indianapolis, then Canfield, and might as well try to throw in Essex Junction or hopefully Lima. That'd be pretty cool in general. But you had that your hometown, your hometown show, last points race of the season, kind of a sentimental deal for you. And once again, another awesome show. You're using the whole track layout, and the thing is too is all three venues were different kind of field layouts. You had an inside track at pretty much the racetrack at Bloomsburg, and then you kind of had a parking lot at Indy, which all at one time were all long fields for these monster trucks to hammer down and go 5 seconds to point A to point B. But when time comes, time changes, and the city developments, the county, the stuff like that start changing stuff in general. Yeah. So you have to work around there because we're pretty much one of the only more sports where we don't really have a home base. Right. NASCAR has NASCAR tracks, NHRA have tracks, Supercross does, football stadiums, but they have their outdoor tracks. Same thing, when you did your core off-road racing and dirt track, they all have home tracks. Monster trucks, we pretty much don't. We have to rent or borrow whatever way we go. But the cool thing about us is we're so diversified that we can go do a show that's the size of a rodeo arena, but we could do racing as far as what you do with the Monster Truck Outlaw drags. So it varies. But you had 3 different types of venues, and then you had a pulling track pretty much to play with at Canfield. And I'm trying to lean to this question because you have done so many cool rhythm, difficult tracks at Canfield. How do you now prepare for a track like for now in the future at that venue?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging every year because we do have pretty limited space in Canfield to work with in terms of what I like to build, how I like to build my tracks. And I do try to build rhythm obstacles. And I've had this idea for a step on, step off jump in my head, which is being used in Supercross, obviously. And, I built it, and the way the track ended up, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff out there for best trick. And I knew that some of these guys are really good at poppers. Rampage, he's really good at poppers and stoppies and really balancing the truck. Preston and Toxic is really good at them. So we needed some things out there because we were wrapping up the best trick championship too. So the way I built the step on, step off was when you jumped back off of it, I used Jersey barriers. And I built them just like how I built the double in Indy, only it was reversed, which everybody was hitting it in freestyle going that way. And I was like, okay, everybody's hitting that, flying about 20 feet out, 20, 30 feet out and landing. The Jersey barriers were staying put. They were working fine. This should work. Well, the way I did it, and as soon as we started hitting them full on and racing, the barriers were moving, and there were 2 of them side by side. So they were moving sideways. So they were throwing trucks all crooked and everything and jacked up. And it made for a lot of really cool highlight reels. Unfortunately, it wasn't the racing that I was hoping for. If I had just made like a nice little dirt lip for that step off part, it'd have been a lot faster and I think a lot cleaner racing. But hey, you live and learn. We're trying stuff that nobody else has tried before, and that's all part of it. And I got to give hats off to all my guys, all the teams, all the drivers for never once bitching about it, never once questioning it. They're just like, okay, this is cool. This is different. Let's go for it. Let's see what we can do. We're all in this together. We're all trying something different here, and we all want to see it succeed. So I got to thank all those guys for sticking with me this year and trying all the crazy shit that I've thrown at them.
Well, I look back to last year because I was able to go to that show with thanks to Richie and Colton for bringing me down for, the couple events I was down there with them. And I remember looking at the starting line of last year's show, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, to step up.
Yeah, that was insane because, you had to, think about how you're going to attack it. Because I remember when you went for the first round of qualifying, you skied that thing the first hit, and that's the one thing that I love about your tracks is you cater to more of the driver's track. You're not building these cookie quarter courses, and I'll say this, I'll give props to Monster Jam for the track they just debuted this past weekend. That is a unique looking track. I feel like it's something that you would try to build yourself, kind of what they did, that kind of figure eight kind of J-hook or whatever they did.
Where was it at? I didn't even see it.
I think it was Houston, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like a kind of like they kind of a weird J-hook kind of figure eight deal, and it was actually really cool. And,
yeah, they built some wild stuff, I mean, and they, as well as I think some other promoters in our industry, are really they've really kind of got it dialed in as a science to building tracks, and they use things like CAD to design them, and they know exactly where to place the dirt. I don't know how to use CAD. I just go out there and I just know from experience of driving where to place stuff. I shape all the jumps myself in the skid loader, and I know when I'm in the skid loader, when I'm going up a ramp, like how it's going to throw a truck. So I measure everything old school with a measuring wheel and some upside down spray paint, and we use chalk lines and try to square everything up and make everything as even as possible. It takes a little bit longer, but it's the only way right now we know how to do it, and it's working out, fortunately, But yeah, Monster Jam definitely built some wild stuff. And what is cool and impressive to me is the dirt work itself. If you ever actually take the time to appreciate it, the work that goes into building those tracks that their dirt crew does is amazing. They have some of the best heavy equipment operators in the world that are building those things, because it's like a sculpture when it's done.
Yeah, and then within hours it's all destroyed. I mean, but what's impressive is how a lot of people don't recognize how fast they can tear down a track after it's over with, and within 24 hours you're going to be like, there was dirt here, and that's all that goes around. But getting off the topic here, you have championship points, your championship weekend at Canfield. You had, I think Preston was second to you.
Mm-hmm.
Coming into Canfield. Logan Tweedy posted, I think today or yesterday, the final point standings. He was fifth.
No, he was third. Logan was third.
Well,
He was consistent. Third. Every event he was consistent. He was never first, but he was never last. So he kind of stayed the course. He improved every weekend, but he was very consistent in his racing, his freestyles, and that consistency got him a top three in points.
But you came on top with your with the championship racing championship with the outlaw drags. And once again, I'm going to talk about the drivers, because you had so many unique drivers. You had veterans like yourself, Rodney, Dalton, and then you had up and comers like the driver Rampage, American Scout, and then and then you had Austin and them, Preston, and stuff like that. You had a whole wide range of drivers, and for your take of it, seeing some of these drivers improving, how they stepped up their game all the way to Canfield, had made you proud.
It definitely did. Especially because there were so many drivers that were new or only had a few years under their belt. And I always love running with Austin Tweedy. We've been friends for a while, and he's even come and crewed for me a little bit when I was on the road, 1 or 2 years ago. So we've always had a great relationship. So anytime I get to see him do well and line up next to him and race, it's always enjoyable for sure. But part of stepping out of the driver's seat now is also part of how I think I can grow the series better. One, I can focus on the actual series better and promoting the show and actually being at the show and not being in my truck calling the shots, like actually have a better view of what's going on and everything like that. And also, I don't want, nobody's ever said anything, but I'm sure it looks weird when you're the guy that's running the series, building the tracks, and you're also racing in it. And then you go do well. It's like, okay, here, like I'm trying to grow a series here. I don't want to be the guy to beat as well. So me stepping out of the driver's seat, I think is going to help everything move forward in the right direction to grow the series into something that I think our sport desperately needs.
One of the moment you mentioned Austin, one of my favorite moments from the season is there's an in-cab video of him before you guys were about to go out in Bloomsburg, and he's hyping all you guys up, and that just shows like the community that you've built, and and you just mentioned stepping out of the driver's seat, that's something that nobody expected. It was kind of like out of like left field.
Yeah.
Talk about your decision into going into that, because it's not an easy thing. This is something that you've done for most of your life, and you did take a break a couple years ago, and then came back when you built the forward body relapse, and then changed it to Gladiator. Talk about your decision to get out of the seat now, and why is it now time?
Yeah, I just sometimes it took up a lot of years, but it's almost half my life. 18 years from when I started. I started in 2006. I was 22. And just everything that I've done, everything I've set out to do, I've accomplished. And I feel satisfied with that. I still have the drive to race and compete, which I will do in other motorsports. But as far as monster trucks, it was just, I just felt like it was time. I felt like I had accomplished everything I wanted to do. My place in the sport now will be to grow the outlaw monster truck drags and try to continue pushing some good entertainment for people, and hopefully keep our fans entertained, attract some new fans, and keep things interesting and different than what hopefully anybody else is doing, and really try to bring that legitimate competition back into our industry. But it was just a lot of time away from home, a lot of time on the road, just a lot of physical work. All my old injuries from racing bikes before monster trucks and riding freestyle motocross have just gotten amplified over the years. My back problems that I've had, my neck problems, just a lot of stuff. The truck just, you don't go out there and break your neck or, break your arm or your leg, like you do riding motorcycles and racing mountain bikes, but they definitely beat you up every single week. It's like being in a car crash. So it's just repetitive abuse on my body, my head that I've had a lot of, brain injuries, and then getting in the rig and driving it long distances was just really taking a toll on me. So I was just like, I don't need to be doing this anymore. I'm thankful for the fans that we've made. I always tell people that the greatest part to me about being an entertainer is not, hey, everybody look at me. It's being able to take people away from their reality for a little while. Everybody's got things going on in their life. They've got problems. They've got things keeping them down, and they come to a monster truck show. They come, they want to be entertained, and they want to, forget about the rest of the world for a little while. When you can be that person, when you can be somebody that takes people away from their reality and shows them a good time and makes them forget about all the bullshit they have going on, that's a prideful feeling. And that's what kept me doing it for as long as I did, and what pushed me along and really, made the good outweigh the bad, but now I've got some other things I'm working on in my life, some other moves that I'm making with my businesses, outside of motorsports. And I've made my living at it for a long time. And it's a lot of hours. It's a lot of hours, and just kind of ready to slow it down just a little bit. And you're out on the road, you don't get to work out the way you want to or eat the way you want to. Cheech, I know you could attest to that. So I'll be at home and I'm eating everything I cook. I'm meal prepping and working out. And then I go on the road and I eat way too much. And then I go down the road in the rig and drink 14 Red Bulls just to stay up at night. And it's like, it's so counterproductive for what I'm trying to accomplish with my health. So now I want, that's one of my goals now, is to kind of get my health back in where I want it to be. I still love riding my bikes. I still love traveling around and going different places and experiencing things with my friends on my bikes. And I missed out on a lot of that over the years because of being on the road so much. So there's a combination of all those things, really.
So I guess let's talk about the elephant in the room here, is the truck that's behind you in the green screen. With you stepping down, retirement, what is the future holds with that truck as of right now for you, the liability for you to say if you want?
Yeah.
What is the future? Is Bad Habits still going to be with you, or is that going to be out there to be bought?
Bad Habit is still mine, the name. That didn't go with the truck, but the truck and the trailer and everything that had to do with the truck, all my spare parts and everything, were literally gone 2 days after Canfield. There was a deal that was in the works, and somebody that wanted the truck actually wanted it earlier in the season, but I was like, hey, I got commitments. I've got events that I'm not going to back out of. So the earliest I could do is right after Canfield. So they came and picked it up literally 2 days after Canfield. They haven't told me that they want it public yet, and they haven't made it public yet, obviously. So I'll respect that. But I will say that when I think within the next couple of weeks, everybody's going to know. But it went to a good home. It went to somebody who knows what they're doing, and it went to somebody that's going to drive it to its fullest potential for sure.
Well, can't wait for that to be out there, and it's good that you're still in the Bad Habit name, and hopefully we see that name back on the side of a monster truck. Yeah, at some point, you never know.
You never know.
Another thing that you've decided to venture from is your coffee business, High Octane Coffee.
We're sponsored by him, and you don't know the name.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
I was looking at my shirt on my screen there, and so that's been something that you've been doing for a long time, and thank you for the sponsoring us from day one on the show, and talk about the decision to let that go and pursue other ventures.
Yeah, I mean, I started that 6 years ago, and it ended up being a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, and the way it started, when I first started it, I was supposed to be pretty hands off with it and just be a face and a brand and everything. And then I ended up becoming the roaster, and really it ended up being a lot more than what I had anticipated. And it just came down to just not wanting to do it anymore. The passion wasn't there for that particular business. I wanted someone else to take it over that was going to carry on with what I started. So I put it up for sale, and I talked to a lot of different people, and it was a process of probably a year and a half, and it wasn't intentionally that it was going to happen right this year or right after Canfield or right when the monster truck sold too. It just happened that way. It went to a nice couple that's from Columbus, Ohio, and they'll be carrying forward with everything, all the same recipes, the name, the branding, and hopefully scaling it, hopefully growing the business. You can still order everything online at gethighoctanecoffee.com. So they moved the roaster down to their facility in Columbus, and it's exciting time for them, and I'm excited to see where they can take it. I'm still in the background if they need help with anything, or they have any questions or marketing things, or I told them I'm not just handing them the keys and saying, "I'll see you later, have fun." They know that they can reach out to me anytime if they need me.
And then the future holds with we would love to still have them as helping our podcast out. Would love to talk to them and see if they would branch out and stuff like that. But for now, what's going on with the franchise program? Is that still going to be a franchise over there?
That's that they control the franchises as well. Austintown is operating as normal. That location is still open, still operating as usual. So nothing changed there.
So I want to kind of dive away from the monster truck and business stuff. I want to talk about somebody that I know is an inspiration to you, Seth Enslow. I wanted to kind of bring that up because I've been watching a lot of old crusty films lately and been watching a lot of FMX stuff. It, for some reason, it's become my obsession. Talk about, the influence of Seth Enslow, because if people don't know Seth Enslow, you should check him out on YouTube. That dude is he's a savage, man. One of the pioneers of FMX. And, I know he's a good friend to you. He's a mentor in a way. And talk about the influence of Seth in your life and kind of what he means in you.
Yeah, if you go back to his early days of when he started riding and jumping motorcycles, there's not a whole lot of people in this world that can legitimately say they have no fear. A lot of people say that. It was a clothing company for a little while, and a lot of people say, "Oh man, you got no fear, this or that." It's generally bullshit. But that man there did not care. He did not have a fear. He said, "Anything the pros are jumping, I'll jump and I'll go bigger. I don't care what the risk is. I don't care. I'll jump anything, anytime, anywhere." And that's how he made a name for himself very early. But yeah, just him and the whole Crusty Demons of Dirt video series, that all really legitimately spawned a revolution in my life when I was younger to go down the path that I'm still on today. And I got to meet Seth a couple of years ago when I was riding mountain bikes in California, just briefly. And it was really cool. He thought it was just as cool that I had set a record jumping a monster truck as I thought of all the things that he's done. He's a world record holder. He still has the world record for the longest jump on a Harley Davidson. I think he might have been the first guy to go over 300 feet on a dirt bike. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think he was the first guy to do 300 feet. But earlier this year, my rep from Black Flies Eyewear was on a motorcycle tour all over the country. They wanted to hit every single state except for Hawaii and Alaska. And they went from California all the way to the East Coast and all the way back to California. I think they did like 7,500 miles total. And there's a group of them. They're all on Harleys. And Seth was one of them. And Seth's been with Black Flies since the beginning of his career. So when I told him, I said, when you guys are rolling through, I'm sure you need a place to stay. Crash at my place. I got plenty of room. We'll have a party. We'll have food and everything. So they came in, and it was really cool to watch Seth Enslow roll in my driveway and then hang out in my shop. And we went and we jumped on Harleys and we rode down to West Virginia because that was one state that they didn't hit. But from where I'm at, Cheech, I'm only a half hour from West Virginia. So I was like, we could jump on bikes. Let's go right now. We were eating pizza. And they were like, we want to hit West Virginia. I said, let's go. So we hopped on Harleys and we rode down to West Virginia, turned around and came back. They got to see the world's largest tea kettle. And and we headed back home. And literally that night, when everybody turned in for the night, to me and Seth just kind of sat up and talked for a couple more hours, just me and him, and just found out that we had so much in common with what we have done. And it was so cool to see his perspective on the things that he had done and what had happened with him with sponsors and things like that, and a career in motorcycles to where he's at now. And just, it was very inspirational and it was very educational talking to him, somebody who's been there, done that. It was really, really cool. To hang out with one of your childhood heroes right in your own garage and, have him kind of tell you his experiences firsthand and see how it was very relatable to everything I was going through in my life. And, and then I went out there to California. Gabby was doing, she had something going on. It was an event for her shoe sponsor, Brooks Shoes. And she had a thing going on in LA, and I stayed in SoCal with Seth and Roji from Black Flies. And we went to car shows and rode choppers up Highway 1 along the coast. And that was an amazing experience. And I got to see Seth's house and a bunch of cool stuff he had going on. And so it was really, really cool. And we just stay in touch now. We talk all the time, and he's really big into his health and fitness now too. and eating organic foods and things like that. And he drinks coffee. So I was like, dude, I'm going to send you some of my coffee. I'm going to send you a little care package. Let me know what you think. And so, yeah, he even told me he was roasting his own coffee. He was buying green coffee and roasting it in an old popcorn machine. So I thought that was pretty cool. I've never heard of anybody doing that before.
And we have a few people on the chat right now that want to ask you. Kurt Nagy was wondering, which record are you more proud of, the speed record or the long jump record?
The long jump record for sure. The speed record was cool, and it was something that I wanted to do, mainly to have that title, world's fastest. I just thought that would be really, really cool. I also thought it would bring in sponsors. It didn't. Just like the record jump, I thought would bring in sponsors. That didn't. So, and when you do this for a living, you kind of rely on that. And I didn't really mention that too much, but that was also one of the things that kind of drove me out of the driver's seat, was just after 18 years and not being able to secure any major sponsors. I always looked at Cheech with like the Hall brothers, what they do, as a blueprint of where I wanted to be as a business in the sport. And I know I had some big sponsors over the years, but for the past few years, I haven't had any big title sponsors on the truck, like when I had Ready Lift Suspension and Rigid Industries and KMC Wheels and stuff like that back in the day. So it just makes it very, very difficult to make a living, especially nowadays. Like, it was a lot earlier, 10, 15 years ago, when you'd go to a show and there was a handful of guys there that were just cashing it in for a paycheck and just making their hits. And it was easy to go and beat those guys. Now you go and you've got 7 other trucks that are all killers. You've got guys that have outside funding. You've got guys that have businesses, and the monster trucks are not what they're relying to pay their bills and put food on their table. They've got great drivers. They've got great equipment. They've got great crew. They've got great haulers. And you go there, and they don't care if they break the truck in half. They're going to laugh about it and go have beer afterwards. I've always been in a position where if I break the truck in half, I'm wondering how I'm going to pay for a sandwich down the road, or how I'm going to put diesel fuel back in the tank to get to the next show. And, so without the sponsorships, it made it just very, very difficult. And that was always one of the things that I did, or that I strived for with my marketing, my social media, the world records. I was always hoping to attract companies that would want to come on board and utilize what we can do with the monster truck. And unfortunately, just haven't been successful at that the past few years. But to answer that, we go back to that question, the record jump for sure. That took a lot more planning and a lot more testing and a hell of a lot more risk than the speed record did. The speed record definitely had its own risks involved. Don't get me wrong. We did a lot of testing to get the truck to do what we wanted it to do. But the jump it's to be staring at a jump that's taller than your rig, and you've got your foot to the floor pushing the truck as fast as it could possibly go, which at the time for me was 85 miles an hour. It's a sensation like you can't even explain. And I think, and Dan Runte is the only other person in the world that knows what that feels like, to be staring at a ramp and just going incredible speeds, like way, way faster than you would ever hit a ramp at a show, and just saying, it's do or die, baby. These people are here to see a show, and I'm going to give it to them.
Well, you said something there with the sponsorship that, I'm kind of intrigued by, because I'm working with a guy in the NHRA, Travis Shoemake, who just bought his own operation, and he's getting, I'm working with him on renderings of the car and everything like that, and that's one thing that him and me talk about, like how hard it is even for one of the world's fastest billboards, a Top Fuel dragster. It's impossible to get sponsors. It's something that, I'm kind of noticing myself as I'm working with him to drum up ideas on who he can pitch to. And that's just something that I wanted to mention. It's like, I'm kind of seeing that myself on my end as well.
Yeah, it's difficult, man, for sure. It always has been.
Yeah, especially with NHRA, when their payout is not as much as what the car is. And for a lot of the guys in HRA, their money is a sponsorship that keeps everything going around.
Oh, yeah.
people are very surprised when, they tell you how much a winning purse is, and then you're like, how much is this car? And they tell you how much the car is, and you're like, you do the math, and it's like, you're kind of more negative than you are positive. But then
Kind
they
of like
tell you,
monster trucks, huh?
yeah.
We're gonna take a $250,000 vehicle and go get paid a few $1,000s to go do a few $1,000s worth of damage to the truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that same thing with NHRA and stuff like that, because people don't realize they're getting penalized for spillage on the track, damage on the track.
Are they really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, if it blows the engine and it lays oil down, they get fined points and dollar amounts, and
Really,
it's insane. Like what I've talked with Chavez about, like even how much it costs for him to go get to get licensed in Indy. Like renting the track out, or if it's because he works a lot with the Mike Salinas Scrappers Racing team.
Well, yeah, or you could go listen to Ashley Stanford's podcast with us. She'll explain to you on detail how much money she paid for and all that stuff to get her license and everything like that. She did on detail on how much that stuff is too. So just fast forward to that.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's crazy.
Yeah. So we still have a lot of people thanking you, Joey. Let's see here.
Got our buddy Dustin Parks in the chat. Always awesome photography from him and his website as well. Seeing who else is on
Dustin
here.
has always supported us, whether it's been the monster truck, my race car stuff, or high octane coffee. He's always been there, man.
Let's see here. He did a very good article on his horsepower vlog.
He does a great job with those articles. I hope a lot of people read those and appreciate the time that he puts into writing something like that.
Mm-hmm. He does that. He did an article with your event. He does an article when we stop by Muncie, Pennsylvania. He does that too. He does a very awesome job on that stuff in general. Man, one question I guess I would love to ask you is, you stepped away from monster trucks. You're in the future pursuing what you want, but what do you want people to remember you in the monster truck world?
Just that every single time I hit the track, they know that they got 100%. That I never went out there and tried to just make my passes to get a check. Like, it didn't matter if there's 5 people in the stands or 50,000 people in the stands. And that's part of the reason why I've always kind of been adamant that I've only been the only person to ever drive Bad Habit, because I feel like people have an expectation, and I wanted them to have an expectation when I went out there. My heart rate's pounding out of my chest, not because it was super physical or high cardiovascular activity or anything like that, or I was, concerned about winning. My biggest concern was always going out there and performing at my best and the truck holding up. And if there's anything that people remember me by, I want people to know that I gave it 100% all the time.
And I think that's important, because, you see a lot of these other trucks that, sometimes will, in a way, have a revolving door of drivers. And, whenever Bad Habit shows up to the show, you'll expect, Joe Sylvester in that seat, just ripping it up. And, it's an honor to call you a friend, man. Like, and especially with the podcast, and when, the hospitality that you showed last year in Canfield, like, you are, like, I can't wait to see what you're going to do with the Outlaw Drags, man. And when are you going to get your ass out here for some mountain biking, man? Like, you got to get to Whistler, man. If you go to Whistler, I will drive up there, man. I will.
Oh, that's where you're at. You're that side of Canada?
Yeah, I'm in Alberta, Canada.
Wow.
I'm about 2 hours away from the BC border. But like, if you go to Whistler, dude, I will drive up there and get my fat ass on the
You just said it right before this went live, that you looked out your window and there's snow on the ground. That's why I ain't out there right now.
I don't know if you could tell. Maybe you're able to see it like on the roofs and stuff, but there is some white on the ground. And not a lot, but there's some white stuff on the ground.
Yeah, I do want to go to Whistler sometime. That'll definitely be a something that we plan. Some of my buddies have been there, and I know it's epic riding and it's amazing, and I know it's a long it's a long flight to get up that way. Then it's a long drive to get to Whistler, and it could rain the whole time you're there. So it's like, then what do you do?
Yeah, but if you go there, I will hop my fat ass 340 pounds on a bike and try to ride.
I'll hold you to that.
I'll do it. I might be skinnier by then, depending on how work goes this winter, but I will hop my fat ass on a bike and try to ride those trails because
let's do it.
It's a bucket list for me too, man.
Yeah, the place is awesome. It's amazing.
So I was kind of curious. Has there ever been anyone outside of you that drove your truck?
No, not in a competition. The only thing just moving the truck around. That's it. No one has ever performed in Bad Habit other than me.
That's interesting because that was just kind of a curious question. If has anyone performed your Bad Habit truck outside of you? I didn't know if you had an injury or something like that, because the first time you sold your truck to Jerry and them, people forget that between the two Bad Habit renditions, you did drive a truck between that. You drove like Black Stallion, some Dirt Crew.
I actually drove quite a few. I there in 2014 when I had some sponsors that were carrying over into off-road racing, but they still wanted something to do with monster trucks, and I didn't have a monster truck. That was the year I drove for Jimmy Cretin, and we put a Bad Habit body on one of his trucks during first quarter in 2014. That was, and then I ended up driving for Feld for a little while, and I drove Zombie Hunter, Zombie, Gas Monkey, El Toro, and then obviously I drove Black Stallion. I drove Iron Outlaw too for Jimmy. I did one show, I believe, I drove for him. But that was actually when I still had my truck the first time around in like 2012 or something like that. He was in a pinch, needed somebody that can go and do a show and then take the rig to California after that show. So I had a weekend off, so I went and did it.
And then how was going to drive Jerry's trucks, aka your old trucks? Was it like riding a bike again on those old machines?
Well, when I drove mine, it still had Aaron Kane's seat in it, and Aaron's way bigger than I am, so it was super uncomfortable. I felt like I was in like a lazy boy of some sort. I was flopping around like a fish inside the seat, no matter how much I tightened the belts. But that was pretty sure that was the only time I got to drive my old truck, and then I drove the dump truck a couple of times too. And I know he's changed it around a lot since then. I would assume it's probably gotten even better. But at the time, it was one of the best trucks I ever drove, actually. Just an old school chassis. But the way he had the coilover set up on it and everything, that thing, it just worked really, really well.
Man. Well, Joey, man, thank you for being on here. We'll just still do this a yearly thing. Who cares if you're, went completely not even racing anymore and paddle boat racing is the way to go. We'll still have you on.
I'll be racing something. It's just not going to be. I just won't be doing it for a living. I've kind of, no matter what it was, whether it's been monster trucks, off road, sprint cars, I've always kind of relied on the race car to make my living, and it's very volatile. It's very volatile, and I'm looking for a little more stability in my life. I'm taking on more of a role with my family's businesses, with our real estate properties. I'm making some investments of my own in real estate. I'm going to start marketing my welding and fabrication business once again. I just never really had the time to do work for other people when I had monster trucks in the shop. So now I can, do some things. I've got, a lot of business oriented things that I'm working on, to better my future and, create a little bit more of a stable future as well. And then when it makes sense, I'll get back into racing at a high level again. Not quite sure when that'll be or what it's going to be that I'll be getting behind the wheel of. Might be something I've already done, might be something new. I don't know. But, and then I guess I'll still be involved in monster trucks too, with the outlaw drags, and we're going to keep on continuing on what we started. 2024, I don't have a schedule just yet. It's too early to tell, but we're already talking with the Jamborees again to see what they want to do for next year. Hopefully we can even get a couple more dates added to the calendar for the outlaw drags. I don't want to spread myself too thin, and I don't want to go do shows that where the venue's not big enough to build a true outlaw drags track. If I ever do go and do a show somewhere where it's not big enough to be a true outlaw show, I more than likely won't even brand it as an outlaw show. I'm not going to turn down a venue that wants me to do a show, obviously, but if it's not a true outlaw drags show, I don't want it to be confusing for people. I want people to know that when they go see an outlaw monster truck drag show, that it is going to be what they're used to seeing at Canfield, Indy, Bloomsburg, things like that.
I could totally see you doing next is either in a pro mod or like a top alcohol funny car.
I would love that, actually.
I could totally see you in that, like a guy like a guy like in the vein of Stevie Fast Jackson. Just I could totally see you rocking that, dude.
Yeah. I have a lot to learn about the ins and outs of that sport. Obviously, like I didn't even know that they get penalized if they oil the track down, but that's a very, very expensive sport. So that would have to be something where I would have to drive for somebody else. And I don't think anybody's looking to hire any rookies anytime soon.
Man. Well, Joey, thank you for being on here. Letting a little bit of all the information, stuff like that, and closure for everyone to know. I know you posted and stuff like that, but I think it was cool to have this program and have you on and stuff like that too. Once again, could people follow you in your social media?
Yep, absolutely. Joe Sylvester 8. And my only regret about, the way we announced the retirement was that I wasn't able to do it earlier to give people a chance to maybe come see me one last time in Canfield or something like that. But I was so balls to the wall thrashing between Indianapolis and then Canfield that I didn't have time to even think about anything else. I knew what we were doing, but my social media was pretty slow. Like I was so focused on running those events that I didn't have the mental capacity to even make an announcement like that. So I was like, I'll make it at the show and then I'll kind of clarify things after the show when I have time to kind of clear my head and, be in a good mental state to really make something that's of substance that people can read and understand why I made the decision I did.
I hear you on that. And then for next week, we're going to have a episode with some Mike Mentor, his son. And then we're having Lee Plato and Shane Plato too on. So a little bit of talking about, a little bit of a topic going on about, younger people under 18 driving full-size monster trucks in competition. They wanted to voice their, opinion towards the critics about what they do. And we'll hear them out. It
seems like there's definitely some controversy there over that.
Yeah. And we'll just go from there and let them, speak their volume on what the standards is. And, if people want to ask questions about it, they're more than welcome to answer. I don't see the problem with it. If the father sees their son and if it's a controlled atmosphere, a field, I may question if you want to put a kid in a rodeo size arena where people are standing there right next to the truck, but if it's a field starting out, I guess you may say, something.
Yeah. Are you going to the Hall of Fame?
Yes, I'll be at the Hall of Fame. Yep.
I plan on going too.
That was an important question here too, Joey. As people are asking.
Somebody asked me. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. I'll be there. And actually, what had me make the decision to definitely go was the fact that Frank Scattini is getting inducted this year, and he's been a buddy of mine for a long, long time. I love Frank, and I've always thought he deserved a spot in the Hall of Fame because I don't know about you, but I wish I got a dollar bill for every single person that's asked me, "Oh, in monster trucks, you guys stand up and drive those things, don't you?" I'm like, no, there's only one guy that ever did that, and he must have got a hell of a lot of press for that too, which creates a lot of people's eyes looking at monster trucks for whatever reason, So he did something that attracted a lot of mainstream attention when he did that.
And he was very successful too on how to market that truck and promote it, because he was one of the unusual ones that used the monster truck world as a platform for displays and stuff like that, with his big dummy trucks, a show truck. He ran the longest time as a show truck. Wasn't until 25 years ago that he started racing full time with the stand-up motorcycle type atmosphere. Before then, it was Big Dummy and all them were scissor lift, jacked up, old school monster trucks that helped.
Yeah, even his old trucks were pretty remarkable too, and did some wild stuff back in the day in the 80s. And it's crazy to think that he's been in it for that long, because like when I've hung out with Frank, he acts like he's 20 years old. We had we party in Vegas together and stuff, and we always had such a great time together. He's just a really laid back, chill, like California motocross dude.
Like when I think of SEMA, I think of him.
He was always there.
Yeah,
always there.
Like all the project trucks he did, like everything. Him and Greg Adams. People don't realize how much Greg Adams, the guy with the Illuminator, not Illuminator, but Illuminator, his son Zach over here, the Crimson Crusher. People don't realize how much that guy has put into making exhibition monster trucks for like SEMA and other car shows that, people don't give him, I guess, the credibility about it, because he does some pretty good exhibition vehicles also.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Frank's actually working on a new truck right now too.
Yeah,
his old one actually, that thing worked really well especially for racing. That trailing arm suspension design that he did, and it worked very, very well.
I want to find a copy. I might be a little bit lagged there. I was just gonna say I would love to find a copy of There Goes a Monster Truck, a sealed copy for him to sign it.
Yeah,
that was
no. Monster Man.
Oh, okay, that one too. But there goes a monster truck.
Poster. I have a Monster Man poster. Hopefully I can remember. I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna have him sign.
But if you want to see his,
but There Goes a Monster Truck was. I think there's a delay. Let me log back.
Well, anyway, sorry about that one. If you guys want to see some competitive monster truck racing from Frank, watch the episodes back in 2006, 7, and 8 of the MOD, the Monster Truck Construction. He was a regular for the points championship for that division and stuff like that. And his truck, the stand-up suspension truck that Joey was talking about, was very, very popular in those years. Watch how that truck handled. It was a very competitive monster truck that people were surprised on how it ran and everything like that. So, go take a look at the Monsters of Destruction back in like 2006, 2007, 2008. I don't know. It was around that time.
That MOD stuff was really cool back in the day. That was really cool.
Were you ever interested in doing that?
I was, but unfortunately it went away before I got into the sport. That and the MLMT.
Yeah. I was at when now that was happening, you just started. You purchased your truck in 2006. The cool thing was the Monster Truck Nationals was the one that opened their doors to you at first, right? Were they the first mainstream one? That
sure was. George Eisenhart, Monster Nationals. First like
tell a little bit of the story. Tell about the story. How did you get connected with George, and how did that happen?
That was a good one. Yeah.
You know how hard it is just being. You're just regular. I guess you say regular Joe.
I was a 22-year-old kid with a mohawk and tattoos. And
so, how did you get the phone call? And how did you get connected?
I went to. I want to say it was a show at the Schottenstein Center, maybe in Cleveland, or maybe it was a Columbus show, something like that. It was a show that was fairly close by. And it was when I knew I wanted to get into the sport, and I had already worked for Randy Moore and Paul Schaefer a little bit. And I knew that I was going to buy a truck. And I went to the event, and that was where I met Tim Hall. I met Travis Howard. Travis has a funny story too about that night too, if you ever ask him about the first time he met me. And I'm laughing just thinking about it. But I went and introduced myself to George, and I told him who I was, and I said, this is what I'm doing. I'm buying a truck. I'm buying Tim Tesmer's Carolina Crusher truck. I'm going to brand it with my own identity, and I want to come run for you. And he's like, okay, well, just keep me in a loop and send me information as you're getting it. Let me know when you get a truck. Send me videos of you driving it and everything. And I'm sure he got that a lot. I mean, I get it. Everybody in the industry gets it from people saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to buy a truck and I'm going to drive and this and that." And, but George, when he hired me, he told me, he goes, "The reason I'm hiring you, and I don't generally hire a lot of new people. He used a lot of the same teams every year on the Monster Nationals." He said, "Because you have done everything that you said you were going to do from day one. From the time you first met me till now, you've done everything you ever said that you were going to do." And that was how George hired me. And to this day, I still think he's the greatest person, the greatest promoter. He was absolutely amazing. He treated everyone so well. He genuinely loved the industry, loved the fans, loved the drivers. And it was an honor to run for him. And when I ran for him for a year or two, kind of full time, did the first quarter stuff. And I did the a couple outdoor shows that he did. And I had some big sponsors that wanted to come on board, and they wanted the TV time. And at that time, I had done a couple Monster Jam events, but then Monster Jam offered me a full schedule, and that had some TV time, and that's what my sponsors wanted. So I went to George, and I told him, I said, "George, I have some big sponsors that are coming on board. They want the TV time, and Monster Jam has offered me a full schedule with TV shows and everything." And he goes, "I wish you all the best." He goes, "I have no problem. I hope you do well. And I'm proud to have been a part of your career." He wished me well when I left the Monster Nationals and went and ran full time with Monster Jam, because that's what, we felt was best to grow my brand and to keep sponsors happy. And he just always wanted to see the best for me, as well as anybody that worked for him. But yeah, he was awesome.
That's cool. It's a neat story about, kind of going full circle and stuff like that. And quite frankly, actually, him having the Monster Nationals, Special Events had a little bit of the Monster Nationals deal. And kind of in the thick storm of the last couple of years, you got the Special Events type deal going on, which is kind of like a little bit of a full circle type deal. And
maybe a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know.
Bonnier is very different from Special Events, and they, it's exciting to be part of the Jamborees, because I really want to see it grow and not just grow to the level that it was at one time, but actually succeed that, get grow bigger than it was in the past. And they have a vision for that. They're a great company. They're really, really enjoyable to work with. And they've been on board with my crazy ideas every step of the way.
That's awesome. And be going to one of their shows last year, they put on a good product, and then, combined with you, it's even better. And you bringing back, actual racing, it's not just a freestyle exhibition or just a best trick. And, it's actually, turned into a good show. And, it's awesome to see what you guys are going to do in the future.
Yeah, it's exciting, man, for sure. I'm ready to dig into it and, put a lot of heart and soul into it and really make something special for everybody.
Man. Well, thank you, Joey. Like I said, we always do this where we say thank you to everyone, and then we do some crazy things between hand. But yeah, once again, thank you, Joey. And Mike and his son, Shane and his boy, will be on next week. We will have them on to talk about, monster trucks. And yeah, I want to thank everyone that helps out. Now with new ownership, now with High Octane Coffee, J Concepts, Bradshaw Designs, Bat Channel Productions, MTRC, Monster Truck
Apparel.
Yeah, they help out occasionally, but they need to do more than that, Brad. So we're just naming people that actually help us out.
Oh yeah, true.
What's the saying goes, a two-way street. And also, once again, also with Monster Truck Attitude, they help us out. Steve and all them, they take their time out of the day to, put their just this, it's like fantasy football, but with monster trucks with downhill. The thing with, have you heard this Monster Truck Attitude before? Joey?
I haven't, no.
Okay, it's basically kind of like fantasy football, but he does video of he just takes these die-cast trucks and take them downhill off the Hot Wheels track, and they race each other, kind of with like type of deal where people put their name in. He picks the people's names, and then he puts them in a truck, and then pretty much gravity takes over. But he does it very professionally. Does it like he does his programs kind of like a 2010 Monster Jam show.
Nice.
Kind of like with the pyro and the Speed Network type vibe and stuff like that. So he does it like that. So he really helps out with that nature. So we try to help him out too. And then Back Channel Productions, those guys, he does his stuff. Nick Davis and stuff like that really help us out and whatnot. And Hall Brothers Racing, thank you. They always help us with our decals and stuff like that too on the trucks to help people in general. And then, like I said, Bradley Shaw Designs, and then also our spread shop. Go take a look at that Crush This Monster Truck podcast on my spread shop. Any word on anything new, Brad?
Yes, I have been coming up with some t-shirt ideas and concepts. I am close to finishing them. One shirt's kind of in a way inspired by Joey. A certain part of your truck that you were very keen on. It's going to be a shirt that just has a picture of Zoomies with the word just Zoomies. That's it. Just plain and simple. And then the other shirt's going to be hashtag Slap Wheelies 2024. With a truck doing a tail dragging slap wheelie, because slap wheelies are boss and zoomies are bitching. So that's kind of my idea right now for those. More stuff coming, obviously, with my work schedule and stuff. I've been under the weather, so I've been working on a little bit of stuff. But again, thank you to everybody that supports us. We're coming up on, I don't even know how, since 2014. So I don't even know how many years we've been doing this now. We're coming up. It was around this time back in 2014 when I came up with the idea and messaged Cheech about this.
Joey was the first one we ever interviewed.
Yep, Joey was our very first guest. So it's
kind of full. Kane.
Yep, it was coming all the way full circle to this again. And, we love doing it. We'll continue to do it. We're rebranding into 2024. All new logos, colors, new scheme. We're working on that right now. I could give people a sneak peek if they wanted.
Nah.
No,
anyway,
we're keeping it hidden.
That ruins the surprise.
And yes, I've been drinking out of this cup. Don't judge me.
Oh, that's cute. That's a little bit different than mine, huh?
I went to the concert movie with my wife. She's a huge Swiftie, so.
Mine's Dollar General.
Chug.
I'm already done.
Yeah.
I had one little sip left, but man, Joe, thank you so much for being on. Like I said, everyone else, thank you for being on. Thank you for the 5-star likes on iTunes, Spotify. Yes. This episode will be on Spotify and iTunes here in the next couple hours, so stay tuned for tomorrow. Also, once again, Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you for all you folks being on here. It was a great time all the time. This week I will be in Conway, Arkansas for a Halloween / canned food drive with the ride truck. So they do a little burnout competition there with the Mopars and stuff like that too. So it'd be fun to go there. The rest of the team, they're going to be at Bridgeport, Connecticut for 5 shows of Monster Jam there at some arena in Bridgeport. Go take a look at that. And then Brad is still doing Brad things.
Yep. Just dealing with winter now and getting back to 100%. I've had a kidney infection and other infections, and I'm not doing great, but I'm getting better. And my next show is World Finals. I got tickets, so I'll be attending the World Finals this upcoming year. So I'll be definitely out there.
Well, there could be possibly a first there at the World Finals. We may have an episode where me and Brad will be in the same building at one time. So at the same time. So that'd be pretty neat to have. Been since 2014.
9 years.
9 years.
We've been doing this for 9 freaking years now. Oh my god.
Well, 7 years continuously. Remember?
Yeah, 7 years continuously. But then World Finals. It'll be the first edition of where Brad and Cheech are in the exact same room doing an episode.
Took 10 years.
Yep. So
that's a good 10-year buffer.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a good time. And like I always say here, guys, check up on your friends and family. Mental health is very important. If you're struggling or going through anything, please let somebody know. Your life is worth more than losing it. It's if you're struggling, reach out. That's plain and simple. I know it's hard to do. I've been there, but for me it helped save my life, and it could save yours too. So I just wanted to still add that.
I hear you.
And as we always say on the show, for 10 years, 7 consecutively, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, everybody.